So, so welcome to the Healthy Reset. Tonight we were supposed to have Marla Press as our guest speaker, but because of unfortunate circumstances and our mix up with our technology, the White Rose community, we couldn't make it happen. So she had some clashes, and we didn't do our part. So we do apologize. So tonight we're going to dive into a different topic, and Marla will come on at a later stage if she decides to rebook herself. So that being said, what we're going to do tonight is a topic that is about reducing stress, especially during the menopause period. The topic tonight is building your personal resilience to overcome stressful situations that can happen during the menopause change. And what does that mean? So we're going to get into what is building resilience and what is stress and how you can apply some simple techniques to help to overcome stress and reduce the impact of potential burnout from menopause. So let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Z, and with me is our co-founder, Nurse Joseph, and we will be leading off tonight, and hopefully we can give you some information that will help you to understand what you're going through and then implement techniques to change it, right? So resilience is not just about bouncing back. It's about bouncing forward. So how do you manage stress? How do you manage to build your resilience? Have you had a failure in your life and how do you manage that failure? Right? Did you manage it by trying to learn from that failure, or did you go down the route of beating yourself up for that failure and what and you're just not taking the time to look back at what could have been gained from that. And that's what resilience is about. It's about bouncing forward, taking failures, taking stress, seeing what you can learn so that the next time it happens, you're more prepared and you're doing it better. So this is something we all need to understand because life will always throw us challenges and this can happen whether it's at work, in our personal lives, in unforeseen circumstances. Stress is inevitable, right? And this is what we're talking about tonight. A good example of how resilience works really well to boost somebody and to make you feel be more powerful is we all know Nelson Mandela. He's a great world leader and an activist for most of his life. We also all know that he spent 27 years in prison for something that was nothing he did. And for anybody else, maybe that 27 years would break them. It would make them feel resentful, hurt, and feel the need to attack those persons who harmed them. Nelson Mandela didn't do that. He had an unbroken spirit and advocated for peace and justice. So how did he manage to go through 27 years of imprisonment and 27 years of his formative years in life? He went in there as a young man and came out well past his 60s, but yet came around and started becoming the president of South Africa, and not only becoming the president, but was able to bridge the divide of race in South Africa. What did he do while he was in prison? Instead of being angry and resentful, he decided to learn. And if you ever read any of his books or saw his movies, one of the things he always mentions is that he started to learn about his guards. These were all men who had families, jobs, they had beliefs, they have They had dreams, and he wanted to know who these people were. And he spent the 27 years learning about the men who imprisoned him. That gave him a deep insight into what he needed to do to lead the South African nation into what it is today. And that took a lot of resilience. And he worked really hard on building that resilience and was able to bring his people together. So that is what resilience is about. It's something we build. So then what exactly is resilience? Simply put, resilience is the ability to recover quickly from difficulties, right? It's not about avoiding stress, but about managing and adapting to it. In fact, resilience isn't a fixed trait. It's a skill that can be cultivated through practice and consistency, right? So today we're going to explore why resilience is so critical in helping us deal with stressful situations. And menopause is a very stressful situation. That hormonal change and those symptoms of menopause can put a lot of strain on women's lives. And we've heard from the last few sessions we did how it can affect your relationships, how it can affect your work, how it can affect your daily life, even your peace of mind. So that being said, this is why we're going to focus tonight on how you can build resilience um, in by building building that muscle, right? So the purpose of today's presentation is in preventing burnout. We look at what stress is doing to us, the components of resilience, and most importantly, practical tips that you can implement in your daily life to build resilience and manage stress. So let's dive into what then is stress. And stress is our body's response to pressure, whether that's emotional, mental, or physical. There are two types of stress. There's acute stress, which is a short-term and manageable stress, and then there's chronic stress, which is long-term and can be harmful. Now, we go through acute levels of stress every day, being in traffic, encountering a stressful situation at work. These are acute events. They last for short spaces of time, and then they're gone, right? And the way we manage those acute events really dictates our ability to be resilient. Now, chronic stress is when we take on that stress every day and we keep compounding it, like compounding interest. So for instance, are you always getting into road rage while in traffic? Are you always angry because you're in traffic? And I use traffic because we encounter traffic in just about every nation in the world, right? And do you get overwhelmed? Do you feel that you need to, yell at or curse out or do something in traffic that leads to you just being angry while in traffic, right? And if you continue to do that every day, that is considered chronic stress. That means you leave the house every day being very upset, and that could lead to potential accidents because you make quick and rash decisions that may lead to problems. Right? The same thing is happening with work stress and home stress. If it is a thing that's happening recurrently and it's always there, then you are developing chronic stress, and chronic stress is harmful. How is it harmful? It affects your body and your mind. When we experience stress, our body goes into the fight or flight mode, releasing hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And while this response is great for life and death, it's a problematic when triggered regularly by everyday events like looming deadlines, ongoing work pressure, overwhelming bosses, stressful events in your home. Those prolonged exposure of stress can wear down both your mental and your physical health. So I don't know if everybody has ever seen this. You ever seen a cat or a dog get knocked over by a car or get attacked, or you see a wild animal get attacked by a predator? If what do they do? The first thing they lie down or they fall down and act like they're dead. That causes the predator to move off, or if they're bounced up for a car, it is lie there. Hopefully, they haven't been harmed by the car. Right? A lot of times they haven't. Right? But then if you stick around long enough, you're thinking that this animal is dead, right? What is going on here? But if you stick around long enough, you'll notice that cat or dog get up and shake like if they're having a seizure vigorously for a few seconds, and then suddenly they stop and they run off. What are they doing there? Animals have this mechanism of getting rid of that extra cortisol and adrenaline that's pumping in their veins, because if they keep it on board, it will cause their hearts to explode. It will cause them to get a heart attack, right? So they need to release that adrenaline. They need to release that cortisol. So what do they do? They shake violently, like if they're having a seizure, and this causes them to release all that adrenaline from their muscles. And this leads to them now becoming calmer, slowing their heart rate, and getting back to living a healthier life. Animals do this all the time. Unfortunately, humans don't do that. And there's something that it probably should start doing. So, like for instance, if you're in a stressful situation, going for a walk or a run, and we'll discuss more on this later as we get through this. So stick around and we'll tell you more about how some of the things you can implement. So so these animals do something that releases that stress and allows them to continue to live in a stress-free environment. Now, they're always encountering stress. There's the weather, there's predators, there's cars on the road, there's all these things happening. But they're constantly in a state of equilibrium because they release it. Humans don't do that. We don't release that stress. We hold on to it. We hold on to it really tight. And that eventually leads to injuries like heart attacks. It can lead to things like, high blood pressure, diabetes, putting on weight. Acid reflux is one of the common features. Headaches, migraines, joint pains, muscle pains, all these things can come from stress. And then there's those are the physical. When you talk about the psychological, you're always yelling at people, you're always angry, you snap very easily at the most mundane things. Or there's the emotional, you feel depressed, you feel overwhelmed, you feel like if you can't achieve the goals that you want. Why? Because of that extra stress constantly bombarding you. Right? So that is some of the things that stress is doing to your body. So you see how stress can be it can both be very good and it can both be very, very bad. Chronic stress is bad. Acute stress or short-term stress is good. We have short-term stress in our lives. In fact, we grow because of short-term stress. But as I said, we're discussing of how can we help to build that growth, build that resilience so we can grow because of stress. So, as I mentioned earlier, stress in unaddressed stress leads to a manifestation of burnout, and if you've ever done any of my courses in burnout, burnout is an emotional, physical, and mental collapse, right? It's when you reach your wit's end, you can't go anymore. They say it's a straw that broke the camel's back. Suddenly you have that one thing and you snap. And that is burnout. And all of burnout comes from prolonged, unmanaged stress. Those symptoms of burnout are some of the symptoms I mentioned, but some more we can mention as fatigue, cynicism, reduced ability to perform your job, reduced ability to even get involved in daily activities. How often your family wants, or your children, or your partner, or your friends want to hang out with you, and you just don't have the energy to go out and hang out with them. You can't get off the couch. How often have you gone on vacation? You spent your entire vacation catatonic, lying on the couch, watching TV or watching Netflix, and then you go back to work, and what do you say? I wish I had more vacation, right? Because your body spent so much time resting and it didn't get enough, so that when you go back to work, you're still unrested. And that is coming from chronic stress. So the more resilient you are, is the better you can handle stress before it escalates to the point of burnout. So I'm hoping everybody's with me so far what we're talking about. We're getting back to what we're talking about, a little bit of quick summary. We're talking about stress and resilience and how we can build resilience to manage stress. And why are we addressing this during menopause? The change in menopause is a stressful state. And that itself can lead, and imagine, now we know menopause goes from, it starts as early as the 40s, some women even younger, some women can get symptoms in their 30s, and it can last well past your 50s. Most women go into the postmenopause period at around 51 to 53 years old. But some women have symptoms well into their 60s. So imagine that. That's a 20-year gap of persistent stress, right? So if you can implement things, not just learn, but implement things that helps you to manage that regular stress and remove it from being chronic stress to just to manageable and in a place that you can feel more resilient, which is building your resilience, then you can transition through this journey with a little bit more ease. Right? And that is the goal of the White Rose community. We are trying to raise awareness and give women the tools to help them manage menopause. Now, I want to say, why do I talk about this? One of my big areas I try to help, especially medical staff, is to reduce burnout. And what I try to do is give them the tools that allows them to manage their stress and reduce burnout and have a healthier lifestyle. And that's why I go very deeply into this topic. Right? So, everybody with me so far? Thumbs up if you are. And if you don't know where to find the thumbs up on the on your Zoom, or you have an older Zoom, go to your reactions and you'll see a thumbs up symbol next to reactions. And you could just give me a thumbs up right there. Awesome. Thank you, Dale. And I can't see everybody. So for those who give me the thumbs up, thank you so much. All right. So let's dive in to our 4 key pillars of resilience. Now, I know some of you joined a little bit late. If you're joining on a little bit late, or you're watching us on YouTube, or you're watching a replay right now, I do apologize in this session because our speaker couldn't make it tonight because of a clash and because of a bit of technical issues. So we will reschedule with her, and she will come on and talk about communication in relationships, and that will be a little not a few weeks to away from it now, right? So apologies for the speaker not showing up, and that's why we're doing managing stress and building resilience. So let's talk about the 4 key pillars of personal resilience. Now, why do I say personal resilience? Let's define that. Because this is something you build within yourself. It is not about your job. It's not about traffic on the road. It's not about your family. It's really building that resilience within you to manage all those things. I tell the staff at the hospital I work, I can't do anything about their salaries. I can't go into the payroll office or go to their bosses and ask them to give them a raise, right? What I can do is help them to manage their stress levels so they see other ways to create income for themselves, right? I can't do anything about in my hospital, whether they'll have a lack of resources or they're short staff or, people calling in sick. Those things happen, right? And those are stressful events that can be very, very difficult, especially after we came out of COVID, and that was a massively stressful period. So I can't do anything about that. But if I can build their resilience, then they can manage those situations better and possibly see solutions. Are you short staffed? What can I put in place to make sure this doesn't happen again? Are you worried about not having enough equipment or running out of equipment? What can I do to put things in place? And you start finding solutions when you remove that overwhelming stress and build that resilience. So Let's talk about the 4 types of personal resilience then. The first one is physical resilience, right? It's a mind and body connection. Now, I'm going to tie this into our ultimate weight loss recipe course that's coming up on Thursday. It starts at 7 p.m. This is a course that helps you to connect the mind and body. And what it does, it gets you to start recognizing those natural cues your body creates to tell you whether it's doing well or not doing so hot, right? And if you were able to recognize and listen to those cues, you realize you develop a very good sense of where you are and a better understanding of your own wellness. Now, this is not just about health. Health is, yeah, making sure you stay healthy, avoiding diseases and so on. But wellness is about the entire picture. It's all of you. What is happening around you in your environment? What is happening in your home? What is happening in your workplace? How are you managing menopause? That is all wellness. It's a big aspect of your entirety. It's your global view of yourself. So physical resilience is about connecting the mind and body. And when we take care of our physical health, our mental and emotional health improves. How often have you gone for an exercise and afterwards you feel so good, you feel relaxed, you feel energized, you feel clear of mind? Why? Because exercising increases dopamine levels, it increases endorphins, it gives you all those happy hormones, and it reduces adrenaline or epinephrine. It reduces cortisol levels. So you now start to find a way to release stress. So that's why exercise is important. And we'll go through at the end of this some of the things you can do to improve exercise in your daily routines that can help you to manage stress. Some very simple ways to implement it. Right? So the physical health is important. So what about the next one? Sorry, is mental resilience, right? So we talk about mind, body. Now we talk about the mental aspect of it. This involves thoughts and mindsets. Do we challenge? Do we see challenges in insurmountable obstacles or as opportunities of growth? People with growth mindset, those who believe that their abilities can improve through effort, are more resilient. That's why entrepreneurs like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk do so well because they always find ways to grow from uh, the obstacles that are thrown at them. And when they get those obstacles, they keep moving forward. Elon Musk took a long time to bring out his Cybertruck. For years, he's been promising it. Why didn't he give up on it? Because his mindset is, I get better and better and better at doing this. This happened to me just today with the speaker who was coming on. She sends me an email at later this afternoon. I was still at work. I was picking up my girls from school, and I saw the email just before coming on the session. Realized she's not coming. She also gave me information about how she didn't get any follow-up messages, and so she didn't know what was happening. And that was entirely my fault. When I went and I checked the link where they can book their appointments, it wasn't sending up the follow-up emails. That's an automation. For some reason, it wasn't. It also sent her the wrong link for this session. All of those things are a combination of things. Now, I can become overly stressed out about it and go, oh my God, and pull what no hair that I have out and get completely overwhelmed and then not show up for the session and just hide myself under a table. Or I can look at it and that's what I did. I looked at it, I emailed her, I apologized. I mentioned that when I looked at the automations, I realized it wasn't sending her the follow-up emails. And thank you for telling me this because now I can go fix it. And that's my goal tomorrow, is to sit down and fix that process. So now I know that it's working. And then with the next speaker that comes on next week, I can now send them out emails starting tomorrow to make sure that they have gotten all the information they need in order to show up for next week's session. I could become overly stressed out about it, or I can do something about it. And I sat down and I thought, okay, what can I do here to fix this? And you see what I did, instead of trying to fix it right now, just because we're coming on here, I apologize. I say, let's reschedule. And I come on and do this session. And tomorrow, when I have more time, I will sit and fix it. That is mental resilience, not getting overwhelmed by what is happening there and thinking of how I can fix it. And even though I'm tired, I go, okay, put it off for later, take a break, come back and look at it when your brain is more functional, and then you can fix it. That is mental resilience. Do you do that in your daily routines? You take a step back and do that. I have this thing we do with my team, with Maria, with me and Nurse Maria, and we have Letitia who's on the call this evening, and I always call them our CPS, our Chief Problem Solvers, so that if we encounter a problem in our community, with anything that's happening for the White Rose, the person who gets the problem now has to come up with one solution. No, sorry, they have to come up with what the problem is. So they have to break it down. If it's a really big problem, they have to break it down in smaller parts. They then have to suggest 3 possible solutions, and then they suggest what is the best solution, and we implement that. If that is not working, we have the 2 backup solutions to fix it. And we do this all the time. And because all of us are working as chief problem solvers, guess what? We solve a lot of problems because we put our heads together and combine our efforts. That is mental resilience. That's us working for each other. Then we get into the next pillar, which is emotional resilience. Is how you manage your feelings. How do you deal with things like negative thoughts, negative emotions? How do you process those emotions? Are you letting them control your actions, or are you controlling those emotions? Practicing emotional regulation, such as pausing before reacting to the stress, which is something I did tonight. I took a pause, I took a break. I said, okay, let me do it tomorrow because then I'll be clearer. That is emotional resilience. That's me taking a calming moment and saying, let me create a space. One of the things to do that, and this is common, if you're talking to somebody, you're in an argument, and you take a pause, that pause is enough for you to stop and change the situation. And it gives you a chance to breathe and then get back into a clearer space. That is emotional resilience. All right. So we've already seen that physical, mental, and emotional resilience are big parts. So we get into the 4th pillar, which is now social resilience. And we are social beings. As human beings, by ourselves for very long. Sorry, is everybody hearing me? Give me a thumbs up if you are. Because we are very emotional beings. If you were to stick a human being by themselves on an island, they go crazy within a few days, right? Why? We need social interactions. If you ever watch these survival shows where people get stuck in for 10 days out in somewhere, you see even the best survivalists, the ones who have done this for years, they've done all kind of crazy things. They've been in situations like this all over the world. They go and they have a screaming moment where they just break down. They're in tears, they're yelling because they're so isolated and alone that human interaction is there, that they feel like if they're going out of their minds. As human beings, we're social. We're very social people. Even the introverts, we still need interactions with others. That's why we talk to our peers, we talk to our family members. We have those interactions. We honestly, as human beings, can't exist without others. So building social resilience is about building your social network. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have 1,000 friends. In fact, there was a study that showed that all these people who have thousands of friends, like whether on Facebook or on Instagram or wherever, by the time they hit their 40s, they usually have only about 10 relationships. That's friends, family, people they communicate with. And that's their inner circle. Usually it's no more than 5 or 10 people. I can tell you honestly, my friendship levels is probably less than 10 people, right? And yes, I interact with them, but we don't have to interact all the time. We communicate every once in a while, and that is enough. So building social resilience is important by nurturing your circle. Now, if you're massively stressed out or you're burnt out, you're not going to be able to do it. As I mentioned earlier, how often does somebody call you up and say, let's go hang out? And you cancel on them because you're so stressed out, you're so tired that you can't even build up the energy to go out and say, let's hang out for a few minutes. Right? So that is the social interactions. Now, when I mentioned earlier how we have the chief, our CPS, our chief problem solvers, notice I mentioned we work together as a team to solve our problems. You're not left alone. So we work together, and that's how we build our social resilience in our company to continue to serve all of you wonderful people at a higher level. We're constantly learning and we're constantly changing, and we're constantly leaning on each other to become, and leaning each other's strengths to become better. So build your social interactions. And one of the easy ways to build your social interactions is by saying the term, I need help. Think about it. Whenever somebody asks you, starts off with, I need help, what's the first thing you do? You open your heart, you open your purse, you open yourself to listening to that person. Why don't you do the same? I need help. And just starting off with that leads to people saying, yes, I will be there for you. And maybe it's just you need somebody to listen to you for a few minutes without commenting. That's just simple help, right? So our relationships with friends, families, and colleagues can provide emotional nourishment and practical advice, especially in times of extreme stress. Strong social connections are crucial in buffering against burnout, and especially in this time when you're going through menopause and you feel so overwhelmed. Yes, you want to learn how to talk to your partner. Yes, that's important. But maybe you just don't want to talk to your partner. You want to talk to another woman. That's why we have the community. Reach out to one of the ladies in our community and say, hey, can we have a chat? I just need somebody to listen to. Reach out to Maria. Reach out to one of our female administrators in our community and to say, hey, I need to chat with one of you. Can you give me to give me a few moments of your time? And we will, certainly we will, right? So that is building social resilience. And that's what this community is about. It's about building social resilience. And now, so the four pillars of resilience are physical resilience, mental resilience, emotional resilience, and social resilience. Everybody with me so far? Give me a thumbs up if you are. Let me know you're still on the call and you haven't fallen asleep on me, or I haven't just been talking to myself. Also, that you can hear me. So give me a thumbs up. All right. So let's dive into another aspect, which is self-awareness. This is a cornerstone of resilience. It's knowing what your triggers of stress are and what strategies you can do to help you cope. When you become aware of how stress affects you personally, you can start to manage it better. Practicing things like mindfulness, journaling can help increase self-awareness and allow you to identify stress patterns and act before they escalate. So I always say, thank you for those giving me the thumbs up. I always say that failure is a culmination, it's a stacking of mistakes that eventually leads to overwhelming failure. Stress is the same way. If overwhelming stress and burnout is constant little levels of stress that keep going on and becoming chronic stress, that eventually leads to burnout, which is the failure. So let's talk about now some strategies that you can do to build personal resilience. Excuse me one moment, folks. I have a little person who's happily chatting away in the background. Sorry, that's my little 4-year-old who's having a conversation with herself. Right, and now that is resilience right here. So let's talk about some strategies to deal with resilience. And we'll discuss them, and I want to offer you one of our best strategies we have in the White Rose community. that can help you really build resilience and why it's important to use it. So the first one is developing healthy habits. I always start off with developing healthy habits because when you develop healthy habits, it leads to a conversion of everything in your life doing better. Yes, Dale, I have a contact number I will share with you. Sorry, I just saw it pop up. I don't see them very often, but thank you, Dale. I'll share it with you at the end of this. I'll give you all the contact information where you can find us. Right? So first is healthy habits. There's physical habits, which is things like exercise to reduce cortisol and release endorphins, which improves your mood. And the recommended amount of exercise by the WHO and all these world organizations is 150 minutes a week. And we're going to go into how you can achieve that 150 minutes a week with ease, right? So you want to aim, now they always recommend 30 minutes of exercise every day, but I have a different method that I use that has been very effective in getting people exercising. And it's not you having to find 30 minutes in a day to exercise. And we'll go through what that is in a moment. Another physical habit is very important is sleep. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we can improve sleep. And if you join us in the Ultimate Weight Loss Recipe, yes, the program talks about weight loss, and we do a deep dive development of good, healthy nutritional habits. But it's also about developing health habits that surround and support those nutritional habits, right? And we're going to talk about what that is. So you want to aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep, average, but everybody is different. And during the course, we'll talk about what those differences are. As this is a whole topic for another time. We can talk about sleep in an entire session just by itself because it's such an important part of developing good resilience and managing menopause. And this is when your brain processes emotions and regenerates, and that's why it's so very important. The next type of healthy habits is mental habits, developing good mindfulness and meditation habits. And meditation doesn't have to be a religious thing, as someone can put it. Praying is a form of meditation. What doesn't matter what religion you are, but praying is a form of meditation. Meditation is as simple as breathing, right? And that's how you can reset your stress response. Then is developing emotional habits, some of the things we mentioned earlier, practicing gratitude and positive self-talk. And during the program, during the weight loss recipe, we'll get into a little bit about why gratitude is important and how do we use it to lose weight and create a healthier lifestyle, improving your wellness. Now, another strategy you can use in developing resilience is problem solving and decision making. Now, I have a program I run which helps employees to reduce burnout. And during that program, we talk about things like problem solving, decision making, and time management. Right now, again, that is a whole different section that I will go into while doing the White Rose community. And as we progress, those things will be a part of the community, right? There's building social connections. And that's where the communication person who's coming on to talk on Marla Press, she was going to talk about communication and building connections, right? And later in the month, or maybe in the next couple of months, she will be on to continue to talk about that. And if she isn't, I'll bring on some other communication experts that can help you to build those social connections. There's reframing negative experiences, and this is called ANTS, automatic negative thoughts. And when we go into how to reduce burnout and improve and manage stress better, we're going to go into what negative thoughts are and how you can reframe and how you can use reframing as a powerful tool to build resilience. So when faced with difficult situations, you look at it in a different perspective. Instead of seeking setback as a failure, you see it as a learning opportunity. And the last one is practicing optimism and self-compassion. In the Ultimate Weight Loss Recipe, we talk about self-compassion. We talk about forgiving yourself and being okay with where you are and the progress you're making. Optimism is a key to resilience. Being optimistic tends to focus on things you can control, and then you start managing difficult situations in a different way. You develop self-compassion, where you treat yourself with kindness and understanding. And because you treat yourself with kindness, that kindness and understanding extends to everybody else around you. So you see, this taking care of yourself leads to everybody else being taken care of. And you're able to, when you make mistakes, to face them as a challenge instead of facing them as a downfall. And you tend to, and self-criticizing yourself, so self-criticizing for making that mistake. So those are the 5 areas of developing resilience. Now, those are 5 big areas. I teach people how to manage burnout. I coach them through the process of burnout. And each one of those areas, I spend a lot of time coaching them on those aspects of it. So these are all parts of it that we'll bring to the White Rose community, but it'll take time, and I'll show you tools we can use to build that. So let's get into some practical applications of how we can build resilience then. Right, so everybody's seen Harry Potter, the movie, right? Or know about it. Yes, thumbs up if you have. Came out, I loved it. I watched all of it. I bought all the books. I know just about everything, just a lot about Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling's The author of Harry Potter went through a lot of rejections before her successes of Harry Potter. And you'll find stories like these throughout our history of people who have gone through massive problems in their business, in their life, before coming to success. And it takes time for them to learn. And a good example is Edison and the light bulb. They say Edison had 1,000 light bulbs, 998 versions of it before he got one that worked. He spent 4 years telling his investors that he is getting the light bulb, and he kept telling them it's going to happen. 4 years of doing that. KFC, Colonel Sanders, he didn't become successful with that until he's well into his 60s. He spent tons of time trying to sell his recipe, and nobody would buy it, right? So those are success stories. Now, I'm not advocating for KFC. Don't get me wrong there, because I actually don't like people eating KFC. I think it's not a very good meal, right? But what I'm talking about is the effort that was put in to build that business. And there's tons of stories like this of people going through massive rejections before coming to success, right? Athletes are a very good example. We just came out to the Olympics. Many of those athletes, you don't see it in the background. I've worked with athletes for years, have been training for 8, 12, since they were 5 years old to reach that pinnacle of their success. Usain Bolt trained for years to run a sub 10-second race. Imagine that, all that training for a sub for just 10 seconds to be on the front and be the best in it. And it takes years. I'm sure you might have heard of the 10,000 hours, right? Doing something for 10,000 hours makes you an expert, right? Now, that is true. Some people is more, some people is less. But about that point is when you go from being just average to being a high performer to now being an expert. When they compared a concert pianist, the one who plays for the Philharmonic Orchestra, to a guy who plays in bars, playing jazz for different things, when they look at the hours played, they realize that the person who makes that high level of being a concert pianist has been practicing since they were a young child, and they have achieved more than 10,000 hours of practice, right? So it makes a huge difference when you put a lot of effort into things and then results come. And it's being okay with allowing the time and continuing to grow, and that is resilience, until results come, right? So one of the things you can do is create a personal resilience plan. So think of a current source of stress in your life, right? Write down what that stress is. And next to it, write down one action that you will take this week to manage or reduce that stressful act. So after you finish this, you can even do it while we're here. And if you have a pen and paper, write down one stressful event when you finish the session. Think about what action you will take to change that, and then go implement that action over the period of the week. Take time to learn about it and then move forward slowly. And it could be something as simple as scheduling a time with self-care, going for a walk, taking some breathing exercise, reaching out to a friend, or reframing the challenge, right? And it can be a first step to building your resilience plan. Start simple. I always say start very simple. Don't get overwhelmed. Think of one thing that's happened that was stressful and how you would manage it, and then go implement that one thing. And the next week, do the same, right? So how then do we overcome setbacks and stay resilient? So setbacks are expected. First off, they come. They always happen. Something happens, a car breaks down, a tire blows out, you need to pay a medical bill, something happens, right? Your phone gets lost, falls into the water and gets damaged, you have to replace it. All those things are setbacks, right? How you manage it is how you deal with resilience. It doesn't mean that it has to be an overwhelming experience. It means that then you just have to think of a way to fix it. And one of the things I know for sure is when you need something, it happens. When you just want something, it takes a long time to happen, right? So think about it. The last time you needed something really badly, did it occur? Why does it occur? Because your brain starts to look for ways and solutions to fix it. Your subconscious is constantly working on it and is feeding you information. And remember you said that mind-body connection? If your resilience is good, you start to get a faster response to that mind-body connection, right? There's a role of perseverance. And I mentioned this, resilience is about perseverance. It's continue to fight even though you might be seeing failures. On my wall, I have a quote from Winston Churchill. The quote goes, "Success is the ability to walk from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm." That is in front of my face every day that I walk in and sit down and write in my journal. That is what resilience and perseverance is. And then the last part to managing resilience and overcoming setbacks is continuous growth. Resilience is something you develop once and then forget about it. It's an ongoing process, right? It isn't something you develop once. It is something that you constantly need to work at. And it doesn't have to be every day. It could be every week. It could be just putting some extra time on a daily or every other day to building it. Eventually get to the point where you build it regularly and you're doing it without thinking about it. Right? I have this thing I tell everybody. If you improve 1% every day, right? In 30 days, what do you improve? 30%. In 100 days, what do you improve? 100%. What if I tell you that's incorrect? Using a mathematical principle or the golden ratio, you actually improve exponentially. There's something called the Fibonacci sequence. You're going to go check it out. If you improve 1% every day, at 30 days, you've improved 500,000 times. At 100 days, and this is going to be crazy, you'll think, wow, this can't be possible. You improve 1.9 billion times. Why? Because improvement of 1% is not 1% today, 1% tomorrow, 1% the next day, making 3%. Is that 1% getting added to what you did the day before? And then it keeps getting added on. So that 1% plus 1% equals 2. That 2 plus 1% is now equal to 3. But that 3%, that 1 plus 2, that 3%, when you go another 1%, isn't just the 1% anymore. It's the 3 plus 2%. That's 5% plus that 1%. And it keeps growing like that. So within a few days, within 5 days, you've increased by 12%. And it keeps exponentially growing. So continuous growth, which just is a 1%. Think about it, just 1%, not a lot more. Just 1 minute every day of exercise gives you a 500,000 times better body that in 30 days than if you didn't do anything at all. Just 1 minute. That's it. Right? So today we discuss the nature of stress, the 4 pillars of resilience, and the physical strategies to build resilience in your life. And we also explore key factors to reducing burnout. So what I'd like to offer you, now coming down today to our near the end of this, one of the ways to build resilience is what I mentioned earlier, our ultimate weight loss formula. This is a program that's 7 weeks. We meet for 7 sessions, 1 hour or less, once a week. And I show you how to build nutrition into your daily life that you can implement easily. And this is nutrition that you build for you. I show you how to do it, and you build it for yourself. So you develop the nutrition that you enjoy, and not because everybody is different. In addition to that, I show you how to implement that 30 minutes, that 150 minutes a week of exercise into your routines. Now, I mentioned earlier, I will tell you how this is easily done. Here's the thing. If you do 10 minutes of exercise in the morning and 10 minutes of exercise in the evening, what are you getting? 20 minutes a day. Now, let's say you do that 6 days a week. You take a break, or you do it 5 days a week. Let's use 5 days. 5 by 20 minutes is what? 100 minutes of exercise. Are we getting close to our 150 minutes? I think so. So now you've just done 100 minutes exercise 5 days a week, just doing 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening. That's it. Of any exercise, walking, running, skipping, dancing, anything you like to do. Jumping up and down on your bed for 10 minutes. That's okay. That's still exercise once it increases your heart rate. And that's considered moderate exercise because exercise is broken up into 3 parts: mild, moderate, and what they consider HIIT training or high intensity exercise. Right? Now you're doing moderate exercise. You're going for a brisk walk. You're doing a little bit of skipping. You're doing some dancing, something that just increases your heart rate, a little bit of 10 minutes of yoga. You know that 100 minutes of exercise. Now you need to do 50 more minutes. If you were to take 2 days in a week and just do 15 minutes, or 2 or 3 days and do 15 minutes each of those days, 15 minutes of high intensity exercise. That's getting on a treadmill or a bike and running really fast or riding really fast. And you do 15 minutes 3 days a week. Now you're making an extra 45 minutes of exercise. Or you do 2 days with 20 minutes a week. You're now at 140 to 145 minutes. I think you're close to your 150 minutes. You're on track. You've just created an exercise routine in your life that's easy to implement. Now, if that sounds overwhelming, join us on Ultimate Weight Loss Recipe. I will show you how to easily implement that over the 7 weeks. So by the end of it, you will be exercising your 150 minutes without even thinking about it. And your body will be loving you for it. One of the things was mentioned this weekend. One lady says, but I don't need to lose weight. I agree. She doesn't need to lose weight. But she was talking about, how do I get certain nutritional value into my meals? How do I get certain supplements into my meals? When we did a survey of some of the women who are in our community and seeing what supplements they need, when I reviewed those surveys, they needed all 4 of the women who were surveyed needed 15 supplements. That's a lot of money spent. But when I sat down and I looked at the supplements, 80% of them would come from your diet. So if you jump on our course and you spend the 7 weeks with us, I will show you how to get all of the supplements you need, or majority of the supplements you need, from your diet, from your nutrition, so you don't have to add extras. This is something that Maria has gone through, and Maria has seen a massive change, and she only takes a few extra supplements that adds with what the term supplements mean, that supplements what she's already doing. Now, if you are not having a very good nutrition, if you haven't developed your nutritional acumen, your ability to manage your nutrition and make it work for you, then it doesn't matter how many supplements you take, because it won't supplement what is considered a bad nutrition or an unhealthy diet. So you could take supplements from now till doomsday, but if your nutrition isn't up to point, isn't doing well, and it doesn't have to do well 100% of the time, it needs to be just 80% of the time. If it's not doing well, then those supplements will not serve you as well as they can. And you'll be spending a lot of money for something that isn't really helping. It's just giving you minimal effect of what you need. Whereas join us on a course, 7 weeks, you will have a nutritional understanding and implemented that will show you how to build your foundation of nutrition and exercise to always be crushing it. And it's a sustainable, so it's sustainable that this is something that even if you come back and you do it in the next 3 months. And here's a little bonus for all those who join the course now. You join it now and it's lifetime access. I will try to run this course. Initially, we'll start doing it 2 times a year. We'll increase it to 3 times a year. It is available to you for your life. For the 117, for the 100 and Maria, was it $179 we're charging for the course? Right? You have lifetime access. All right.
$197.
$197. Sorry, I had this. My dyslexia kicked in a little bit here. For $197, you have access to the course 2 or 3 times a year. So you, even if you finish it and you fall off the wagon a bit, or you want to get back onto it, you can come and do it again and continue to have access to it. So join us on Ultimate Weight Loss Formula. We will go through all the things we mentioned today on building resilience. As part of the course, you'll get a lot of the aspects, especially lifestyle changes, the health habits changes that you need to build a resilient lifestyle. So now I will open the floor. I hope you gained something from building resilience and you've gotten a way to implement at least one resilience plan, right? Does anybody have any questions, anything they want to share at this point? Yes, Dale says, I would like all this information so I can utilize. All right, cool. Dale, I will share with you the link right now of the course. Give me 1 second. I'll post it in. Sorry, I'm not looking at the screen right now to see what questions you have. So just just give me 1 second. Why can't I find this stuff? Maria, if you see any questions come up, you can always jump in and answer them.
Not seen any questions. No, Dale was just commenting that how tonight was very informative for
Oh, thank you, Dale.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. I've listened to everything, and somewhere in the conversation, just for the people who are still employed, if we have any men or ladies, well, I know we'll have ladies for sure listening to this. So doing a checklist would help you also, right? So you might be working 5 days a week, and your itineraries might be different every day, or they might be similar. Do a checklist, and probably you could go with the particular times that you do certain things. And when you have that type of challenge, it would encourage you to be a little more disciplined, and it will also encourage you to do everything, because remember, menopause could really take the better part of your mind and your body, right? So you want to try to alleviate as much as possible. And when you have a checklist, the recharge unit and the recharge unit in the mind or the brain is much better than you not have anything at all. That's just my little contribution.
Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome.
And Dale, I shared the link for the course itself. It has all this data. Just click on that document and you'll see all the details about with my phone number and ways you can get the course and everything on there. And it goes into little details on what the course is and what it will entail. Liz, you always come on with some great wisdom for us. Thank you so much for that. And we appreciate your support. And we do appreciate all of your support here in helping us to grow the White Rose community.
That's right.
We are doing this because we really want to see women thrive through this change and become the matriarchs of our society that you are. You are the leaders of us.
Yes.
It's good that a man is there helping, supporting. Shows you understand.
Thank you. Thank you.
So another thing too, you remember we have to consider a lot of things, right? Some women are single, and some women with this age, meaning menopause age, they may have young children still, school age children. It could be high school or tertiary education as per se. So the easier they make lives for themselves is the more what word should I use? Is the more sizable the puzzle, the more, it is the less stress they would have, right? It will help to produce, it would help to produce positivity and reduce negativity. Please endorse everything that Maria Nurse has to say, and Dr. Khan. And please try to write down. We still have to go back sometimes to the writing, time or writing way, because sometimes we sit at a desk and the quickest thing we could do, all right, we finish, let's say availability, right? And then we take that, we finish integration, and we going down, with everything. And then at the end of the day, you look at it, and this has to do a lot with what Dr. Khan explained tonight. Huh? If you really do, if you really allow your mind to go into what he's saying, it all has to do with organization of the mind. And what Dr. Khan has said to all of us, it would now protect us from the stage of having, bad Alzheimer's or dementia as per se. It would really help us mentally, because these things, if we don't take charge of ourselves right now, in this menopause stage that we are having, and we don't try to encourage a healthy mind, body, spirit, soul, we will be heading down such a bad, and most of us here probably could attest to somebody who has dementia, and they slip into it, and all because they didn't condition this same time of this menopause, they didn't condition or fix themselves properly. It has so much to do with that, right? But if you keep yourself active and you pump, positivity into the mind, you could never go wrong. Because think about yourself in the next 10 or 15 years or 20 years, as much as the higher being allow you to go. You really don't want to slip into any unwanted diseases. Let us put it that way. Okay, so that's all I have to say for now. I wish everybody well. I am very far away from you all. That's the ones in Trinidad and Tobago. But I love you, and I'm still close to you, because I'm seeing Dr. Khan is smiling now, and I know the other people will be smiling, including my darling Nurse Maria. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you for that informative and, of course, always supportive
Thank you.
information. It's always a pleasure. And you're right. I mean, if we're not taking care of ourselves, especially as you get older, you're just putting yourself at risk of, diseases. And as Steve Jobs puts it, if you're not treating your health as if you're not putting money into developing your health, you will put money into trying to manage your health later on, and it costs a lot more. I probably messed up that quote a bit, but what I'm trying to say is that, you know, spending time, this little changes, right, has a great impact on your future health versus later on where, you know, things like dialysis and bypass surgeries and cardiac bypass surgeries are super expensive, right? And you know, then you're spending all your money and then you're too sick to enjoy your children, your grandchildren. In those later years, you want to travel, you want to see more of the world, you want to go on the cruises, and you can't because you have dialysis. I know because I have a very close friend. He's the same age as I am, 50 years old, and he's on dialysis now. And it's I very sad for him. The question that has been posted by one of our members is, do women who suffer with endometriosis, fibroids, and polycystic ovaries suffer more when they get menopause? Maria, you want to take this one?
If they suffer more when they, I believe, if left untreated, right, and menopause steps in, it will exacerbate the symptoms. I can attest to that personally, and you know, being a healthcare provider and actually having fibroids, and sometimes you have it and it's asymptomatic, meaning for those that but asymptomatic means it doesn't show any sign or symptoms that it is there. And then they have those of us who are symptomatic. It doesn't stick. Every month, you know, due to your heavy bleeding, and probably that bleeding is so much that it leads to another problem like anemia. The other issues with the stresses of the having to go through menopause with your hormones going haywire can exacerbate these symptoms even more if left untreated. So you really need to get the support you need from a healthcare provider, because in many cases it is, as we emphasize, is a lifestyle. How you eat, how you rest, how you sleep, how you deal with the problems of life. You know, stress is one of the biggest setback or killer, I should say, that we take for granted. Not dealing with stress can lead to other problems. So yes, it can exacerbate the symptoms of menopause.
So to add to what Maria said, it is a fairly complex position because it shouldn't on one side because their hormones are decreasing and the hormones are the contributing factors that causes things like endometriosis and fibroids and polycystic ovaries to overreact, right? And those hormones disappearing should have a positive effect of reducing symptoms. But as Maria puts it, when you add in what's your nutrition like, what's your stress management like, and as I said earlier, menopause is a stressful situation. So you're now dealing with daily stress from work, family, and all this stuff, and then you have this menopause stress. And you add in those, then it makes it harder to manage and it can worsen the symptoms. Right? And all of that comes, you see, it's not just, I like to treat medical management as not just a disease, but a whole person. You know, what affects you outside of what you're showing up in my office for, or what your complaint is. So sometimes you ask the question, so how are you managing stress? What happened today? Or what happened in the last weekend? Right? And you discover that a person had a burst pipe in their house and the whole house flooded out and they're super stressed out. And that's why the symptoms are worse. Right? Or you discover, you know, they just had a death in the family and they're overwhelmed and they're trying to plan the funeral, to try to do this, and then they're dealing with the grief, right? And you realize in that moment, there's a lot of things happening that are contributing. And if you can get them to pull back and dealing with those things, a lot of the symptoms disappear. Right? So yes, it should reduce the symptoms, but when you add in all the other aspects, it can make it worse. And that's why we recommend, coming into like us at the White Rose Community Clinic and having a chat with us. Let's talk about what's going on. And let's find out, is there anything else that's underlying that's causing that problem? If you have non-communicable diseases, some non-communicable diseases, that can contribute to menopause, to your worsening symptoms. Because those hormonal changes, hyperthyroidism, all that can still have an impact in it. So it's a complex answer. It's not just a single, oh, no, it can, no, it won't. As Maria said, she's been through this and it worsened her symptoms. And just those lifestyle changes helped to really adjust it. Yeah, so hopefully I was able to answer your question. I'm not saying who said the question, because they sent it to me private. I just wanted to share that with the community, because yes, it's a very good question, a very important question. So thank you for sharing that question with us. All right. Well, ladies, it's getting late. I know we can keep on talking all night and have a great time doing it, and we can make it into a live, but let's everybody get some rest, since we mentioned rest as a way to build resilience, right? So everybody get some rest. We'll see you again. Remember, the Ultimate Weight Loss Formula recipe starts on Thursday, 7 p.m. is the first session. I saw one or two people that sent me messages that they've already paid. I have to send them the link. They'll get everything. For those who have paid already, we'll get all the information by tomorrow. If you pay, once you get your you sign up and everything, I will send you everything before the course starts. You have access to the recordings of the course. So even if you, let's say, miss one of the sessions, you can go and do it at a later time and just keep on going with us, right? Joining us, there's a lot of information that will be shared, and I'll show you, just like how we do on all these sessions, easy ways to implement all of these things into your life over the 7-week period that can give you the results you desire. Anyway, have a pleasant evening, everyone, and we'll see you
Pleasant
again, hopefully
evening.
on Thursday or next week, Tuesday. All
Good
right.
night, everybody.
Night,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye-bye.